Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today we're going to start this Yevamot daf Mem Zayin. We are going to begin on the bottom of Mem Vav Amud Beis. 2 lines on the bottom. Tanurban. Mishaba, person comes, V'yomer ger ani. He just says, I'm a convert. So the question, do we accept him? So Yachol Nikabel Enom, you think you just accept him at face value. Tom Lomer Itcha, B'muchsekulcha. In other words, you need to verify it. However, so the pasuk says that once you have witnesses, and it seems like a different pasuk if you have Eidim, the Gemara is going to discuss this, that certainly he is then accepted as a ger. Then it says be'artzachem, in your land, which is mashman Eretz Yisrael. Einli ela, as we continue Mem Zayin Amud Aleph, einli ela ba'aretz b'chutz la'aretz manayin. How do we know it also applies in chutz la'aretz? Talmud leimer idcha b'chol makom sheidcha, wherever you are. So if it's everywhere, the dinim of gerus is everywhere. So why does it single out Eretz Yisrael? Ba'aretz tzarich levi raya. In Eretz Yisrael, you need to bring a raya. As Rashi says, based in this Geyer that he converted there, because Shem Givoini Mohohu. Maybe he's a Givoinim. Mishim Shivcha de Eretz Yisrael who de Ka'omer Hachi Mashaker. Because Eretz Yisrael is so amazing and so many good things happen if you're in Israel as a Yid, so therefore maybe he's just saying this in order to be able to get the different things that you can get in Eretz Yisrael. However, in Chutz La'aretz where things are not as good, so therefore you need a raya. You don't need a raya because there's no incentive for this person to be lying. Actually, even in chutz la'aretz, you need to prove. Again, if let's say he comes with witnesses, so kro lumli, why need a pasuk? I mean, witnesses are witnesses. So Rav Sheshus, the Amri, it doesn't mean they're really witnesses. All they said was Shemanu shnis gayer bebeis shel Ploini. We heard that this guy converted in the basin of Ploini. We didn't actually see it happening. Sal kadayta chamina, you would think loli heim naihu, that we shouldn't believe him because it's not really edus. Kamash Mulan, that's the reason why the pasuk has this kula that we taka will accept it. Ba'aretz, ainly el ba'aretz. B'chutzars maneh idcha b'chol makom she'idcha. Sai b'ha efikte, we already used this pasuk. So chadem idcha v'chadem imach. From two different drushes. So why does it say ba'aretz? What's the difference? If you have to bring a raya in either place, so the chiddush is that we even accept gerim at all people in Eretz Yisrael. Maybe the only reason why he's converting is because of all the great stuff that happens in Eretz Yisrael for those who are Jewish. And now, if there's no tivusa, even if, let's say, there isn't such great tivusa, but there are different things that are given to a Jewish person, the leket shechin peya and meiser ani, and therefore, because you're going to be able to receive those things, maybe that's the reason why he's doing it. So therefore, this is what's come to tell you that it doesn't matter, we still are Mekabel Gerim, even in Eretz Yisrael. Question 9, also TB1. So in Eretz Yisrael, either you need to bring a raya, or the chiddush is that you even accept gerim altogether in Eretz Yisrael. So of course, why would you think otherwise? Maybe it's more logical, the distinction Rabbi Yehuda makes, to Kamasai Le Kroi, because he has a pasuk supporting him, Kamash Mulan. Says Rashi, Daha imach kol makam she'idcha mashma, wherever you are, b'fil ba'aretz, ba'artzachem lumli, elav arayakoi. It must be coming on what we're talking about. You would think that's what the pasuk is coming to tell you. Therefore, maybe, even though normally you're right, Yachid Varam Halchin Rabim, but if you have something which is so clear that the din must be like the Yachid, maybe we'll pass on. So the pasuk says like this: Shvatem Sedek Bein Ish Uvein Achiv Uvein Gero. So what do we learn from here? Mekana Rabbi Yehuda, Gershin is Gayer Bebesin Harizah Ger. In order to be able to convert, it must be done in court. Ben Atzmo Inu Ger. It cannot be done privately. Masa be'adam be'echad shibolefni Rabbi Yehuda. So it's a story that a man went into front of Rabbi Yehuda of Amalo, Nisgarti beini levein atzmi. I converted, but I converted privately, which is basically he's saying he's not Jewish. So Amalei Rabbi Yehuda, Yeshacha Edim, do you have any witnesses? Amalei Lav, nothing. Yeshacha Banim, do you have children? So Amalei Hein, yes I do. So Amalei Nemonato Livsoles Atzmacha, you're believed, at least the apostle yourself, that you're not Jewish. V'ata Nemon Livsoles Banecha, but you're not believed regarding the status of your children. That doesn't make sense. Is it true that he doesn't believe that the father's not believed on his children? Losanya, Yakir. Yakirena lacher, Mikana Omer Yehuda. So it says Beferish is Yehuda that said, Nemon Adam Loimer Zebni Bechor. This child is my firstborn child. Ben Grush Ben Chalutza, who I can say that he is a Chol. The Chachamim say regarding Ben Chutz Ben Grusha, that much he is not going to be believed. If again the father was a Kayin. So again, l'chayru, we see that the person should be believed regarding his children. So why would he say he's believed about himself but not about his child? So Rabbi Nachman and Yitzchak, there's two answers. According to your words of Kachavimata, you're basically saying that you're not Jewish. So okay, fine, you're not Jewish. So if you're not Jewish, then the Ein Edus Levi Kachavim. We don't have the accepting of testimony from an Ovi Kachavim. So therefore, we're not going to believe you regarding the Edus of your children. Because since you're saying that you're not Jewish, okay, fine, you're not Jewish, which means no longer can we believe you regarding your children, so your children may be Jewish. Ravina Oimer Hakin Kamalei. Yeshulcha Banim Hain. Do you have children? Yes. Yeshulcha Banei Banim Hain. Do you have grandkids? Yes. Amalei Nemanat Livsol Banecha. In fact, you're right. You could pass your children, you have to Nemanat Livsol Bnei Banecha, but not your grandchildren. This was TB. We did TB1. This is now TB2. Asked a question about this Maisa, and he says, Kasha v'aymer Rabbi Yehuda Yakir Yakirin Alachem Denemana Abal B'nai. So either because he's saying that he's not a Yid, so therefore he's not able to testify. The only time a father can be Nemon on his son is if he's Jewish, but if he's not Kachavim, we don't believe. Or we do believe when it comes to his children. The question is about his B'nai Banim, his grandchildren doesn't believe. We don't believe. Regarding his son, he can say, Katan, this child is young. He's not believed to say, this my child is older. Doesn't mean who's the younger, the oldest. He's saying that he has children. That is someone who's a gadol. So again, the question is he believed on himself, or on his children, and also on his grandchildren? The Hilchas was to Rav Nachman or Yitzchak. The Asanik was to Ravina. I thought we said the Hilchas like Ravina. Says Rashi, the Neman hu al benoi katan she'ein lo banim. He's believed regarding a child who doesn't have kids because the Hamas nisa beger shabav v'omer gerani ka'amri. So who in Yakirit mar? What is that? When that which we said we paskin like him is the Inyan Yakir. Says Rashi, Kach Neman Lemer Zeh B'ni Ben Grusha Allah Katani Neman Hu Al Hakatan Daha Yisrael Hu V'Loy Al Ben Benoi. That he's saying regarding that din that your child, my child's a chol, he's believed regarding his child but not his grandchild. Al V'Gabi Ger that feel Abenolo Mehiman. When it comes to his ger. He's not believed even on his child. If this guy in fact converted privately, that's nothing, and therefore he's not Jewish. Fine. Now we have, what do you say to someone who wants to convert? So the Gemara says the follows. Ger shabalas gayer bisman is that. Nowadays, what do you do? So Amrim you say Maro isa shabasalas gayer. What are you doing? Why would you actually want to convert? What's your logic? Iyata yodea. Don't you know? Shesobasman is devuyim. Don't you realize that we're afflicted? The chufim, and Rashi says shvalim, we're lowly. Sechufim, we're oppressed. Umid torofin, v'yasurin boin alehen. We have all these pains and troubles and travails. There's no benefit. Why would you want to be part of this nation? So im oimer yodeani, I know all this, ve'eni kadai, but I'm still not fit to even come to be part of your group because I so much want to be part of you. The mekabel miyad. So at that point, we're not going to keep doing this. We'll accept him. Umoidin oisa mixas mitzvahs kalos mixas mitzvahs chamuros. We start teaching him some of the easier and harder mitzvos. Umoidin oisa avoin leket shechel peyo meiser ani, and we let him know about the givings of leket shechel and peya meiser ani to the poor. We're going to see what's so significant about those things. Why do we emphasize that? Umoidin oisa anshin shel mitzvahs. We talk about the punishments. Oimrim lo havi yodei. You should know. She'ad shelo basel midazu. Until now, achal techelav. You could eat non-kosher fats. Yata onish karis. There won't be any punishment. Chilalta Shabbos. You can break Shabbos. Yata onish schila. Yach shav achal techelav onish karis. Chilalta Shabbos onish schila. So you're really getting yourself into a lot of trouble because you have all these extra restrictions. But the truth is, just as we tell him about the punishments, we tell him about the rewards. That olam haba is only for the righteous. And the truth is, the Yisraelim that nowadays are not able to accept as we continue the Mem Zayin Mevez, Lo roiv toiva, not the abundance of good, says Rashi. Lafishi Yitzhahara machzor achreihem. The Yitzhahara goes after them. V'lo ro peranios, and the amount of punishments and difficulties. Vein marbin alav and ein medaktik alav. However, at a certain point, we don't continue to overwhelm and we don't push too much. Vein medaktik alav. And then kibel, if he's still makabel after all of this, then Molanoisa miyad. We do the meal immediately. Nishtarbo tzitzin hamakim nasa meal. Chayzin Molanoisa shnia. Then, if let's say it wasn't done completely, the bris milah, so then we'll fix it up. Nisrape, once he's healed, then matbil noisa miyad, immediately is immersed into a mikvah. Yoshnetam l'chacham amdim al gabav. 2 or maybe 3 scholars are there. Umoidian Isa makes us mitzvahs kalos, makes us mitzvahs chamuros. Again, he has to at this time accept upon himself all the Torah and mitzvahs. Tavol, if he immerses himself, ve'ol harihu kisol chol davarov. He's a yid regarding all matters. Isha nashim moishiva isa b'mayim out savara. If we're dealing with a woman, she goes up into her neck. Again, these men are on the outside; they can actually physically see her without her clothes on. And umoidin isa makes us mitzvahs kalos, makes us mitzvahs chamuros. She could still hear what they're saying about the different mitzvos, the good, big mitzvos, the small mitzvos. Echad ger ve'echad evan meshuchar. Whether we're dealing with a convert or someone who is an evan meshuchar, someone who is a free slave. Umakam shenida toivelas sham ger ve'evan meshuchar toivlin. So just like the same place where nida is toivel, so the same place is where ger and evan meshuchar is toivel. In other words, that we have the same requirements that it's necessary that a person has to go to the same type of a mikvah. The whole davar shechaitzitz b'tefila, chaitzitz b'ger ve'evan meshuchar uvenida. All the dinim of chatzitza are identical. Omer mar ger shebal isgar, omer mlo maru isa shebasal isgar. Why do you want to convert? Modeno makes us mitzvahs kalos, makes us mitzvahs chamuros. Again, we teach them all of the different mitzvos, the ones which are strict, the ones which are not so strict. So my taima, why do we do this? Because the parish nifrosh. Because if he separates and doesn't want to convert, let him separate, and it's not a big deal. Says Rashi, v'lo ifchaslan yom chelbu kashim gerim l'Yisrael kasapachas. That the gerim are like an affliction to us. Dechsev v'nilva hager aleihem v'nispachu al beis Yaakov. Says Rashi, she'oichsin maseim harishonim the loimdin shomehem. That's possible that you could learn improper ways of acting from them. O soimchin aleihim be'isr v'heter. You may end up relying on them be'isr v'heter. Alternatively, Tosfos discusses this, and Rashi and Tosfos says l'fishein bekin b'dukti mitzvos yisrael l'mdim b'maseim, because they don't really know the laws so well, because they're just converting, they weren't born into it, so you may end up learning from their actions. Alternatively, they may actually make a stronger commitment than us ourselves, and therefore it makes us look bad because they decided on their own to accept upon themselves yadus, and we are born into it, and maybe we don't take it as seriously, so that could also make us look like an affliction upon ourselves. And then the Gemara continues and says, "Modian oso avoin leket shichu peo meiser ani." The question is my time. Why those specific mitzvos? So Amar Rav Chiya bar Abba, Amar Rav Yochanan, Ben Noach Nerago Pachas Mishav Pruta. Because someone who's not Jewish can be killed even if they steal something less than a pruta. For us, it has to have some monetary value. And it's not something that can be returned. So what does that mean? So Rashi gives two explanations, which is question 10 and also TA 30. Rashi says like this. Shlo yomru aniyam halalu haloitim pasada gazlanim. You may say, what's going on over here? I own this field. Now all of a sudden people can go into my field and steal my food. The oimid alehem, you're going to stand against them. The hargam b'dinehem. Shebnei noyach who's haral gezel. Bnei noyach are warned on stealing. Vasarasan zuhi misasan. Deloy boy hasra. They don't even need to be warned. Lafichach ben noyach neraga pachas b'shever pruta. If you have a ben noyach, he can be punished and killed for stealing even less than a shever pruta. The avikavim kapid al davar muit, because an avikavim is makbid on even the smallest thing. The gav Yisrael have a mechila. For a yid, they're meichel, they forgive it, and therefore to them it's not such a big deal. Says Rashi. Question number 10. What's the reason? She'anu chayshishim, we're afraid. She'yichashvu shanim haloitim esadehem gazlanimhem. We're afraid that you're going to say that the poor people that are taking from your field are thieves. Yahargu osam bidinehem, and therefore you're going to actually have them sentenced to death in your courts. Because you'll take them to your non-Jewish court and you'll end up saying, well, this guy stole. He didn't steal. You should know that this is not stealing. But therefore, we're concerned that you should know this, so you're not going to end up taking him to your non-Jewish courts and then having this person killed for taking something which is even less than a shever pruta. Alternatively, because an akim is makbid, they're not forgive anything, even less than a shever pruta. Shema yachsru with suran, you may go back to your old ways. You may very well say to yourself, you know what, this is ridiculous. I'm not going to allow this, and therefore I'm not interested, because I would not want someone to take anything of mine. But a yid is moichel, they're forgiving, and therefore it's basically what he's saying is, you taking upon yourself the status of being a yid, you have to recognize that you have to change your approach, your entire upbringing and attitude about how you handle and think about money. And then the Gemara says as follows: Ve'in marbin alav, ve'in medaktik alav. So Rabbi Lezer. So Mikra, what is the pasuk to substantiate that we don't push too far? Dichsiv. When it comes to in Rus, v'teira. So it was said to Ruth, v'teira ki misametzes he l'leches ita, that she saw that she was like pushing her away. V'techta l'daber leha, and he stopped speaking. Rabbi Lezer said, Aser l'ntchum Shabbos. So she said, you're not allowed to go a certain distance. Basher teilcha elith, where I go, you'll go. Asel an yichud, which means you cannot be secluded with another man. Basher telini olin, mipak dinan sheish miyais v'yid gimel midos mitzvahs. You should know that we're commanded 613 mitzvahs. Amech ami, your nation is my nation. Asel an avos, which means you can't worship idols. Ve'elohayech Elohoi. Arba misas nimsru lebeistin, that there's 4 death penalties. Ba'asher tamusi almost, where I die, you'll die. Beis kvarim nimsru lebeistin, that there was actually 2 graves, cemeteries for beistin, which we talked about before. One is for those who did skil and sreifa, which are the worst, and then you have people who got the punishment of either chenek or saif or hereg. Shem Yisasan Chamura v'Einu Rishon Kolkach, but they would be part of a different cemetery. V'Shom Ekaver, and there you'll be buried. Miyad v'Teira ki misametzes he. So even though we see that she accepted upon herself those things, even though it seemed like she was trying to be persuaded against it, when she still said, Afal Pikin, I'm going to want to do the mitzvos, so therefore at that point we accept her. So Kibel Malnos Miyad. We do it immediately. Why Taima? Shi mitzvah loy mashinan. Because we don't delay. We're not going to delay this person. If he or she is sincere, they want to do the mitzvahs, they want to become Jewish, we're not going to push them off anymore. Nishtairu bo tzitzin amakman amil kiditnan. Elhin tzitzin amakman amil. These are the tzitzin on the makam amila that are ma'akev, which means you didn't do the mitzvah completely. Basar hachayfes roiv haTorah. It's the flesh that covers the majority of the haTorah. Ve'enu oichel betruma, and at that point can't eat truma. Yomi barabba marav. Basar hachayfa roiv goiva shel haTorah. It's the flesh that covers the majority of the goiva of the haTorah. Nisrapi matiminos miyad. Again, if once this person is healed from his having the bris, so then we're going to toivel immediately. Nisrapi in or nisrapi lo. My time mishum demaya marzu maka, says Rashi, machbidin es choyli hamaka. We don't want, if it's an open flesh wound, we don't want him to do the tefillah. Obviously, we want him to become Jewish because that's what he wants, so we'll do it right away, but not at the expense of him being hurt. There's two scholars. You have to have three. Okay. You're right, that had to be three. So what does it mean that he's a Yisrael for everything? That if he goes back to act as a goy, or Mekadesh Bas Yisrael, and he's Mekadesh a Jew, Yisrael Mumar Karinan Bey, the Kiddush of Kiddushin. Even though he may think that he's not a Yid, it doesn't matter. Once you're a Jew, you're always a Jew. It may be that this person is a Mumar, is Yisrael Mumar, because he's gone back to his original ways, but we're not going to say that he's completely like a goy. We don't say that. Once he converts and it was sincere at that moment, even if he is chayzer, we still say that he's Yisrael. He's considered to be a Yisrael Mumar. Ad kan.